Very rare. Typically, the way we look at it now, and this was some of my fellowship work, and we actually have a paper out on this on differentiate between a spontaneous dissection and what we call like a mechanical dissection. So, like, say you come in my office and you're like, I had this, woke up and the back of my head is just killing me. This is a different type of headache I ever had. I'm feeling dizzy associated with it. A clinician ought to be a little bit more like, something's kind of not right because the signals that are coming from the tunica adventitia, the actual arterial system is going to be almost more of a threatening signal than some of these other stuff. So I generally speaking, the way we look at it is that the higher propensity of someone having something is spontaneous. So they come right into your office because they could go to the ER. But for some reason, let's say they trust you and you've treated before, or you have, hey, I treat dizziness on your website or social media, and they come into you. Like, that's the first and foremost. We just need to make sure something's not happening in the moment, because that's a higher percentage of people. I mean, because that stuff happens all the time. And really, the understanding now on any ill effects of manual therapy, chiropractic, we have research on massage or even cupping, or that people do have a stroke, unfortunately, even after some of those things, is that the thought is that someone was coming in with vascular stuff, and all we did was almost like kick it a little harder, where in fact the diagnosis process should have been like, I shouldn't do what I do. We need to send you to the emergency room and anticoagulants and have assessment. So I like to take it from that big picture, because I don't want people to be scared, but I don't want people to be completely unaware that that happens, because that does happen. Like you said, that is almost uh, a big afraid factor. I think we have a lot more good case control studies, a lot of them out of Canada, and determining the dots connecting backwards. If someone goes to the hospital, they connect the dots backwards. They're like, oh well, someone was having a stroke here, but they went to the primary care first, or they went to the chiropractor, and there was really no difference in how they ended up um, at the hospital emergency room. So the thought is, we know primary care typically isn't going to manually mobilize the neck, and so we thought, well, maybe those individuals just missed the proper signals that actually should have sent them to a different individual. Um, and that would be a spontaneous dissection. Very rare. Luckily, I've never even personally ran into that. That's part of our algorithm and part of my fellowship work we wrote up, and I've been just very fortunate because it is pretty rare. There's some really good case reports out there of that, though. But then you do have what you're even thinking of, a mechanical, like something that actually can disrupt it more, and that could happen. Absolutely, we have research that that does happen, but the probability is low for that. It's obviously a little higher if someone was coming in and it was something vascular in nature, and all we did was precipitate a thrombus that goes further down the pipeline that gets smaller and smaller, and that's eventually leads to a stroke, and not just signals. The body was giving you signals like, I have a headache, I have dizziness, I have nausea, and all the body knows what to do is say, I'm getting signals. Someone help me. It's a rarity, yeah. And one thing I always like to tell individuals who have this is that there are more ways than one to skin the cat, if you want to say. Basically, you don't have to have in-range manipulations and things of that way to improve how the muscles and the joints and some of the origin of what's going on to go. So the treatment can be a lot of different ways too. So I have probably two people in my entire career that I treat a lot of upper cervical cranial stuff, and I would recommend no manipulations. It's just they've had a negative response, and there are some connective tissue conditions and things like that that was the reasoning behind this. But so that's I've been treating about 14 years. So just to give you an idea on that, but a lot of people don't want that. Some people don't want it to pop. Some people don't want their head at different end ranges. So there are other ways to work, and that's something to make sure that you tell your provider, if it's osteopath or a physical therapist or a chiropractor or a massage therapist or whoever, like, be sure like tell them that, hey, I get more anxiety when that happens, because what we don't want to do as healthcare providers is to create more and more anxiety and fear, and that's just doubling down the wrong pathway.